Hello and welcome to this DungeonFog tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to talk about the stack. The stack can be accessed by clicking on the Layers and Level button. This brings up the stage information with the contents of the stage. It could also bring up any room information that might be present on this particular stage. The map that I have drawn here is a giant jungle space and so contains no actual buildings or rooms. It does contain a lot of props. Managing how these props are used is where the stack becomes particularly powerful. If I left-click on the content, you'll notice that there are a lot of props in here, and this isn't even all of them. In order to be able to make moving around your map a lot more manageable and to be able to select props and move them around as you so desire, it is important to understand how the stack works. The higher an object is within the stack, the closer to the top of the screen it is. The further down it is, the deeper down in the screen it is, relative to yourself. This means if we were to add a prop to our current map, it would be added at the top of the stack. If I simply select a giant bat, for example, and I go to try and place it on the map, if you watch the stack on the right-hand side of the screen, as I place the bat, it gets added to the top of the stack. Now, we might not necessarily want the bat to be at the top of the stack. We might want this bat, for example, to be able to fly underneath this palm tree, for example. It currently does not. If I zoom in, it's sitting on top. That's because it's at the top of the stack. In order to get this bat to fly underneath this palm tree, I'm going to need to left-click on the giant bat, get the crosshair cursor, left-click and drag the giant bat down. Notice as I'm moving it, a small arrow appears to indicate where it would end up. I'm going to drag it further down, and when I get to the bottom of the viewport, notice that it will auto start scrolling. Slowly at first, but if I drag it even further down, it will speed up. This way I can drag the bat all the way down to the very bottom of my map, which if I were to let go now, the bat will vanish because it is underneath all of the layers. If I again left-click after getting the cross cursor and drag it up, I need to figure out where to place it on my map to get it underneath that particular tree. So perhaps here. Now I can see one wing sticking out because it's underneath a few trees. As I move it around, it won't change its position in the stack. However, it does mean that things above it will automatically be selected by DungeonFog. To select the bat, I have to hold down the Alt key and select through until eventually I get the bat. Then I can move it around. However, because I left-clicked and let go, the bat will no longer be selected when I left-click again. It will default through to selecting the object underneath. So I need to start again. Left-click once to get the tree, left-click and hold to select the bat, and then I can move the bat around as I like. Once I've found a position for it, I can simply let go. I'm not particularly fond of it being underneath this specific tree, so I'm going to find the bat in the stack and move it higher. Now, this tree hasn't been done particularly well in terms of where it sits in the stack. I have no idea which tree I'm trying to get this bat to sit on, so I'm going to have to spend some time moving it around to try and get it where I want it to be, beneath the one tree, but not beneath the other tree. There we go. I have now found somewhere in this cluster is this particular tree. So if I were to move the bat around now, it would fly over the one tree, but not over the palm tree, as per our original goal. So to get around having to figure out in which particular pile of objects you are trying to get your object to sit, you can create groups. Creating a group is really simple. You simply left-click on the Create Group option. This will automatically create an unnamed group. You can give it a name, let's call it Trees1, and we can now add things into this group. I can left-click on any item within the stack and drag it into the group. This will automatically assign it to the group. I can add as many things to this group as I so choose, depending on how and what kind of control I want to use. If I want to see what is in that group, I can then select the group and it will show me all of the objects that are within that group. Notice, however, that the group stacks from the first object added. In other words, before these objects were in this group, their order was reversed. The weed was at the very top, and the plants and trees were underneath. This is important to remember, as if you've created a good stack where you've got objects above and below as you like, you need to add them into the group in the order in which you want them to appear from a stack perspective. So I can now move the weed around if I so choose and rebuild this stack so that things are sitting where they should have been, or I could have just added them in the correct order in the first place. I can now select this particular group of trees, the entire stack. When I click on content, I can now move the entire stack around, which allows me to reposition them a lot faster than before. So what I have done with this particular map, where there are lots of different objects within this canvas, I have turned each of these islands into a group. I have also locked each of these islands. So if I scroll down in my stack, I will get to eventually the section which contains the islands. I have called them Island 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. But they're all locked at the moment. This means that I simply cannot select the object. I cannot move it. I can select things that are not locked or not part of that group. Now, when I was originally creating the map, I created the island group. Let's choose island group number 8. Notice when I click on island group number 8, it automatically expands into the stack of that particular island. And now when I left click on my map, I can move the entire group at once. The brush strokes, the plant, the bridge were not assigned to this particular group, so at the moment it doesn't look great. Control Z is my friend. Once you have assigned groups, you can then do lots of things with them. For example, I have also created all of the cliffs as groups, as you can see here. I have locked them so that there's no annoying selection when I click on the cliff trying to select the vine, for example. The cliff is locked and it will not allow me to select it. But I might also decide that I don't want to see this particular cliff, and so as a result, I select the cliff and I can hide it. It's hiding the entire group of cliffs rather than just the individual prop, so that I can see what this map would look like without the cliffs there. Or perhaps I prefer it with the cliffs. You can group anything to anything and link them all together and lock them or reveal them as you so desire using the stack. Something else to bear in mind if you don't want to physically move the props around yourself. I'm going to create a very quick prop here. Let's add in a pile of treasure. I'm going to drop the treasure there randomly, so it's sitting on top of everything. We can see in our stack pile of treasure has been selected. I simply select the treasure, and then holding down the Shift key, if I press the full stop button, it will move the prop all the way to the bottom of the stack. Instead of having to scroll there, I can find that the pile of treasure has now moved all the way to the bottom of the stack. Similarly, if I hold down Shift and use the comma key, it will move the prop all the way to the top of the stack. This becomes particularly useful if you have a smaller group and you select the weeds, for example, and you move the full stop. It will move the weeds to the bottom of that stack, or it will move it to the top of the stack, depending on which prop you have. So in smaller groupings, it does allow you to shuffle your content around quite quickly if you know where you want it specifically. And that is how you use the stack tool in DungeonFog.